Hello and welcome to the Kerry Out Sleep Show, a podcast for tired parents who are searching for a bit more sleep the caring way. I'm your host, Kerry Secker, infant sleep consultant, founder of my unique sleep approach, Kerry Out, and your caring sleep supporter. I really hope you'll join me on my mission to get Smalls a settled night's sleep without the tears, training or techniques. I love talking about sleep and I can't wait to share my sleep subjects with you. My approach to getting you more sleep is simple, straightforward, but above all, it's got to make sense and feel best for you. Ready to get more sleep? Then let's get started. Hello and welcome to the Kerry Out Sleep Show. You are listening to your host, Kerry Secker, infant sleep consultant and founder of Kerry Out. Hope you're all really well. I have got a very exciting show and guest today. I have had lots of questions about this. I can't wait to begin. But let me introduce our guest first. This lovely lady I worked with very recently. She approached me. She was looking for a sleep consultant. She actually used me. She worked with me on one of my one-time sleep services. We'll go through the nitty-gritty in a bit. Her name's Sammi. She's come on to share her experience, highs and the lows of working with a sleep consultant. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to talking to her. Hi, Sammi. How are you?
Hi, Kerry. I'm good, thank you. Really excited to be on the show. I've been a little bit of a sleep stalker, which is your word, for quite a while. I've listened to lots of podcasts and really enjoyed your content. And obviously, we've worked together. So, yeah, feels really strange, but exciting to be on the show.
It is really exciting. First of all, sleep stalker. I love the word sleep stalker, but I have to be honest, it's not one of my words. One of the families.
Where did it come from?
One of the families I worked with, she coined it. She was like, "Yeah, I just stalk you all the time. I'm such a sleep."
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, a lot of the words I can't say before have come. I'm trying to think of the like co-sleeping and sleeping when they start off in their cot. And then co-sleeping later on in the night, sleeping. Someone else came up with that recently. Yeah, quite a few families teach me lots of different things.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And I'm also excited to have you on the show, Sammi. We've been talking for a while on Instagram. I hate this phrase, but I'm going to say it. You slid into my DMs.
Yeah.
Is it about that phrase? I really put nails down a chalkboard today. And the minute I got chatting, just, it's my instinct. I just knew, and I'd actually been looking for ages for a family or somebody that was willing, brave enough to come on and talk to me on the podcast, because I think it's going to be so helpful. We were just chatting before about how some families, it's a big decision, isn't it? Reaching out.
Yeah, I think it is. It's obviously it's a big commitment and it's a big decision to think, actually, we do want some support with our little one's sleep. we do want to change things. We do want something to be different. And yeah, I loved your content so much. I just knew that actually, if we did want to make some changes and we did want someone to sort of talk us through that and help us with that, there was nowhere else I was going to go. You were the person. I thought, yeah, absolutely, this is a person that I want to work with if I'm going to work with anyone at all. And yeah, when we decided that we were going to, it was just a case of, Kerry, help.
I think it's so hard. It's taken me a good 38 years to learn to ask for help.
Yeah.
Everything by myself, but it's like a muscle. Once you end up asking for help, you don't stop. Now I'm just like, give me all the help. I want all the admins, all the assistants. I want all the help because I need it.
Absolutely. There's no kind of secret prize or secret medal that you're going to get in any walk of life because you've kind of done something without any help, in that sense. That it's great to kind of be independent with things, of course, but actually there is so much help out there for so many different reasons. And if you need help with something and there's a place to go, a person to go to, of course, ask for the help. If it's going to help make your life a bit easier or improve things for you, that can only be a positive. So yeah, absolutely. That's why I decided to go for it, and I'm so glad I did.
Amazing. I'm glad you said that at the start of the podcast. I'm glad there's going to be no nasty surprises. And I don't know how it feels for parents reaching out for sleep support, but from a business perspective, it took me. I kept saying to myself, "Don't business coach, got it. I can
all by myself, and I clearly wasn't coping. I was like, you shouldn't tell sleep deprived parents you're tired. It wasn't that I was tired, I just found it all very overwhelming. I had no structure. I knew that I had so much that I wanted to share, and I wanted to help people the best way. Thought I could do it all by myself. But when I reached out to the business coach, that felt massive to me, and it's a very similar thing. It helped massively. I'm so glad I did it. In fact, I've got 2 now.
Yeah, that's so good. and
You get addicted.
It's helpful. It's better actually. Things are more manageable or less overwhelming because you've got that support.
Yeah, definitely. But I totally don't know how it feels like for you or somebody listening to reach out for support, because parenting is so personal.
Yeah.
I do know that whole reaching out for support, it's really hard. And that whole, I want to do it all by myself. I've got this. I can do it. That's
it. It's really hard. I think with parenting, especially because you're like, okay, well, I'm a parent now. I should be able to know exactly what to do. I should be able to know exactly what my baby wants whenever they want anything. I should be able to handle all of this because it's my job now, right? And I should just naturally be able to do all of it all by myself. And it's especially sleep. My goodness, I bet every parent who is listening to this right now has 100% heard, probably more than once, probably more than 10 times, oh, how's he sleeping? How's she sleeping? How's the sleep? Are they sleeping through the night yet? And it's just like, why is everyone so obsessed with how my baby is sleeping? Are they in your house? Is it your baby? It's mad, but we are obsessed with how babies sleep, and it tends to be that kind of question of oh, how's your baby sleeping? What's the sleep like? If the sleep isn't great, or it's not where you want it to be, and you are absolutely exhausted and know your baby's not sleeping through the night, you can then feel almost like ashamed, like, to answer truthfully. I've certainly before gone, oh yeah, it's great, the sleep's great, she sleeps amazingly, knowing full well that she does not. And because it's you almost feel almost like ashamed, like, well, I can't make my baby sleep through the night solidly for 15 hours, therefore I'm a bad parent, or I'm doing everything wrong, it's just so not the case, which is why it's so helpful, I think, to know a bit more about biologically and developmentally what are babies actually capable of when it comes to sleep, and what actually is normal, because there's I say normal in speech marks, although obviously you can't see it. Normal is such,
I know what you mean.
It's such a huge range. There's such a huge range of normal, and actually, if your baby is sleeping through the night 15 hours, great, that is great for you, but that's not necessarily the case for every baby, and that's not abnormal. But having said that, if you do want to make changes, there are definitely ways to do it, and gentle ways to do it, which is up to you.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I am actually obsessed with how your babies and your small sleep, which is a good thing.
Way, in a positive way.
But there's so much shame around sleep, and we end up not talking about it, and then I think that's a real shame not to talk about it, because then we just carry that around. And a really big part, in fact, it will always come down to this. This is the reason why I set up Kerry Out years ago, and it is to take away, just to help reassure parents actually that you're not doing anything wrong. And this comes up a lot, we were talking about it before again, that parenting is so personal, it's hard not to take it personally. But when you look at it's hard when you're in it, but from somebody from the outside, and when you hear it for the first time, it just makes so much sense. You aren't in control. You cannot force or cajole your baby to sleep. It's a biological process that will happen when they're ready and everything's in alignment. Actually, parents have, moving forward with sleep, it is all about the parents rather than the babies, as you found by working together, and I'm sure we'll talk about that in a minute. How your baby sleeps, it's actually nothing to do with parents. We take that on as a what's it called, like a mark, or of how, like a badge, or a barometer of what we're doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like it's your direct responsibility, and it's a direct influence of what you're doing or what you've done. And yeah, it can feel really disheartening, and yeah, absolutely feel like you're doing things wrong. So even just to have someone say to you, look, you can't do it wrong. You're not doing anything wrong is so reassuring.
Yeah. Measure of your parenting. That was what I was trying to say. Very, very much.
Yeah, that's it. Absolutely. Like being scored on a test. Okay, well, how's your baby sleeping? And that directly correlates to how good a parent you are. And it's like, what? No.
Crazy, isn't it? But yeah, I put out on Instagram if anybody had any questions for you, and I think it was the busiest. Like, I do this quite a lot. If I'm doing a show about naps or something, I'll go send in your questions, and I get quite a few. This, honestly, loads of people were sliding into my DM. It was crazy. So you're pleased to know I haven't got 300 odd questions for you. I've managed to nail them down to about 10. But there's quite a few.
Good. That sounds manageable. We can do that.
But before we start, I bet people would, or families listening to this, would really like to just have an overview of your. You don't have to go into too much personal detail. You don't have to just nearly start their name then. You don't have to say daughter's name. But if we had like a brief, if you could describe how your sleep situation was before working together, I think that would be really handy.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So I have a little girl, and she was probably about 7 months, just shy of 7 months when I decided to get in touch with Kerry. And beautiful and amazing and cheeky and funny and clever as she is, sleep was not our best friend. So at the time we sort of gotten into a routine of rocking her to sleep. That's what we were doing for all sleep times, except if she fell asleep in the buggy on a walk or something like that. It was rocking to sleep for naps and rocking to sleep for bedtime. And for a while this was fine. Just like Kerry says, if it works for you, works for your small, you don't need to change anything. And it did work for quite a while. It was okay. She was sleeping okay. And then I'm sure anyone who has a little one that's around 4 months or maybe slightly older than that, if I say the words 4 month regression, the terror may hit you immediately, because the 4 month regression was quite a tricky one for us. It's not for everybody. So if you haven't got there yet, please don't panic. It isn't for everybody. I know friends where I think their baby sleeps changed for like 3 days and that was their regression. So it's different for everyone, but definitely for us it just got harder and harder to keep my little girl asleep. So she would be rocked to sleep at bedtime, and she would often wake up probably an hour later or 2 hours later. We'd have to re-rock her to sleep a good few times before we came up to bed. And then throughout the night, she used to sort of have a feed if she woke and then go back to sleep very sort of quickly and easily. Whereas what had changed is that actually she would wake up in the night and a feed wouldn't be enough anymore. We would have to re-rock her. So there were times where it was sort of 3 o'clock in the morning and we would be rocking and re-rocking until about 4 a.m. I remember once, I think it was like an hour and a half I think was our total time of rocking, because she needed it to stay asleep. And so yeah, I had several nights where she would wake up hourly. So I was absolutely exhausted when she would wake up every hour. And I think probably at her best at that point, it was a few wake ups before we came to bed, and then every hour and a half ish she would wake up and need the rocking to go back to sleep, and sometimes need the rocking to stay asleep, which is where those wonderful parties happened overnight. So yeah, that's sort of where we were at the time. And her naps were also fairly short, and we were kind of rocking at the naps. And yeah, I think at the time she wasn't sleeping that well overnight because she was needing the rocking so much. That was influencing the naps. And yeah, it sort of just got really overwhelming in the end. And I just thought, yeah, I need some support with this, really, because I had an inkling, and it turned out to be the the right thing to do for us, that we needed to stop rocking. If she was waking up and needing the rocking again and again, and I just thought, I think she's waking up because she needs the rocking to get back to sleep and to stay asleep. So I think we need to change the rocking, which is of course what you suggested, and is what we did. But that was the main thing for us, really. It was needing to change the rocking. So for us, it was changing the bedtime boundary that we needed help with.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you for that. It was really useful. So a sleep summary were short naps, naps a little bit inconsistent during the day.
Yeah.
Bedtime was fine when we started. Like, she would go down okay. I hear that a lot.
Yeah.
But overnight, frequent wake-ups, needing to rock frequently, and then up for a long parent party needing to rock.
Yep.
Cool. And I just want to point out, actually, that's a really good point you raised there, Sammi, about you instinctively knew what you needed to do before working together. Most parents already have they already kind of, so I believe parents, as you know, are the expert and of their smalls and their sleep situation, and they already have a real strong instinct of where we're going to be working on. Most have that, and I'm the same with my business coach. I've actually got a session of mine tonight. I know exactly what I want to do, what I want to achieve, but then she'll step it down. She just makes me calm down, is one thing, but also then calm down and step it out for me, which I think will step up, which is really handy. So, most parents already kind of know what the issue is or where they need to work on. It's how to move forward from that. And then this is the bit I love, where, not that I've ever done it for a podcast, but where are you at now with her sleep?
Oh, so my little girl now all by herself goes to sleep at bedtime without us in the room, which is amazing. We do our bedtime routine, and we pop her down, and we walk out the room. We keep an eye on her on the baby monitor. Sometimes it takes, I've had some this week where it's taken 10 minutes, and sometimes it's just babbling to herself, making little noises, and she falls asleep. Other times she might sort of have a little bit of a whinge, a little bit of a cry, but as I'm sure people know who are listening to this, that on Kerry's approach, it's very much about responding to every cry. So we just go in and we give her a little bit of reassurance, give her what she needs, pick her up if we need to briefly, but usually you don't usually need to pick her back up. It's usually just enough to walk in, show her that we're there, tell her we love her, give her a little stroke or a pat, and walk out the room again. And she goes to sleep all by herself. And the nights are much better. She normally now doesn't wake up until around, I'd say, well, it varies, but it's normally sort of somewhere between midnight and 3 a.m. We've had a couple of times where she's slept from 7ish until 3 a.m. And then occasionally she's woken up maybe like midnight, 1 a.m. But she's waking up for 2 feeds roughly a night. And there is no more rocking for an hour and a half. It's a quick feed, back to sleep. In fact, she almost kind of tells me that she's done with the feed and sort of starts arching herself towards the cot, like, I'm done now, keep me back in my sleep space so I can go to sleep, which is amazing. So no more standoffs like that, and going to sleep by herself. And naps are much better, and they're getting longer, much longer and more consistent. So we're in a much better place now.
Jill, that's all I ever want for families, is that you're in a much better place than what you were before working together. And that's honestly super sleep strides. You can't see me, but I'm desk dancing, which is every time.
You deserve to desk dance.
Always do a desk dance. So I've just got a few. I think people like to really know, like, they like to see a little bit of themselves in a situation or a scenario, so that was really helpful to go through that. And now I think I'll just whip on and go through the questions, if that's okay.
Fire away.
Okay, this was the most popular question. This is why I'm doing it first. What made you decide to bite the bullet and invest in a sleep consultant?
Yeah, I mean, like I've said a little bit before, there's that shame feeling, isn't there? That actually, if I'm going to ask for help with sleep, I'm sort of admitting that no, my baby isn't sleeping perfectly, and I'm admitting that I need some support with it. And I think for me, it sort of just got to the point where I thought, actually, I think things could be better, and I think things could be improved. And I think for us, or for me, I really felt strongly that it was probably going to be the rocking that needed to change. And that's it's a big thing, trying to change the way that your baby goes to sleep after so many months. You know, it's what they're used to. I just thought I could muddle through this by myself. And I mean, Kerry does have amazing resources, loads and loads and loads of helpful resources, but I just thought, actually, for me personally and for us as a couple, we just really wanted to tackle it step by step, and we really wanted to feel supported and feel like we were doing the right thing, and feel sort of, although I say that, but you know, you can't, there's no wrong way to do it, but for us, I think we just wanted that reassurance that that we could do it, and have someone, like, I think you described it at the time, sort of, you know, like a coach. It's like if you go to the gym, you could research what exercises to do, and you could research what machines to use if you're trying to get fitter or anything like that. But actually having a personal trainer might boost your confidence a little bit more. Or like you say, with a business, you might know what you're doing with your business or what you want to achieve, but having a business coach might actually give you that encouragement and reassurance to really kind of properly smash it and do exactly what you want to do. So I think for us, it just got to the point where I was so tired. I was so tired, and it was starting to impact my sort of enjoyment of my little girl. You know, I was exhausted. I didn't feel like I could be 100% the mum that I wanted to be, because I just felt so tired. And I knew that things could be better. I knew she wasn't at her biological best. And I think we talked it over, and we thought, actually, things could be better. We really think that we could change things. We do feel like actually, if her sleep was better, I would probably feel happier. We would probably feel happier. The daytimes would be a bit easier if the night times were a bit easier. And in the end, we thought, let's do it. You know, what's the point in us muddling through or carrying on and not quite being sure what we're doing, when we know that there is help out there, and someone who really does know what they're doing, aka you. We just thought, actually, this feels right for us, and it feels like something we want to do.
Yeah, amazing. I think most families have to get to that point. Well, I'd probably say, because I always ask when we're talking, as you know, and we decided on a thing that's like, we will discuss this, but I always ask, and most families are at that point where they've tried everything. They've read all, and not just my stuff, all the books, all the content, all the blogs, all the podcasts. They've exhausted everything. They are still exhausted, and they just get to that point that something needs to change. I think the majority of families need to get to that point.
That's exactly where we were at. It was very much, I felt like I had reached my limit. I felt like if I had to do another like hour stint of trying to re-rock her overnight, I just thought, you know what, I really had honestly hit that point of, I can't do this anymore. It's just not sustainable. I'm not getting enough sleep. I don't feel like she's getting enough sleep. We're both kind of getting exhausted and irritable, and we had tried to work through it on our own, and with lots of resources for, I'd say probably it all kind of got much worse around lockdown, I would say, which is perfect timing. So it was probably a couple of months of kind of trying to manage her sleep by ourselves. And I reread all the posts that I possibly could. I listened to some podcasts 3-4 times, tried every little tip, trick, every little thing that I could possibly do to make changes by ourselves, and it was just not happening. So I just thought, you know what, we have exhausted everything. I feel like this is the only option we're left with. It did kind of feel like, actually, we either I just accept that this is how things are, and go on feeling, pretty down and exhausted, or actually we sort of try and make changes and make things a bit more positive. So we really did get to the point where I was like, yeah, enough is enough.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a really natural point to get to. The other question is, I'm reading these all out. How did you know that Kerry was a sleep supporter for you? Did you just put lots of, and you can only be completely honest, I definitely do my research for booking into me, but how did you know that Kerry, that seems really weird, how did you know that Kerry was a sleep supporter for you or me?
I mean, I feel like the very short answer is I just knew, but I won't. That's also a bit of a cop out, so I will explain. I think, like we said before, parenting is really personal. I think it's probably the most personal journey you're ever going to go on, and what's right for one mum or dad or family or baby isn't necessarily going to be right for another mum, dad, baby, family.
Yeah.
And I knew I wanted to make changes, and so did my husband. And I think we were really on the same team and on the same sort of shared the ethos that if we were going to make changes, we wanted to do it gently. And I think your approach is the only approach that I've come across that I really felt was gentle and was genuinely gentle. And I knew that it would be about gradual changes over time, and I was absolutely exhausted, but I just knew that I didn't want any of the sort of quick fixes that or supposed quick fixes that you might read about or hear about. And again, it's very personal. There's kind of no judgment from me to any other kind of mum or family in terms of how they want to approach sleep changes. But obviously the kind of the big one that you hear about a lot is in some way, shape or form, and there's lots of different ways of doing it. But the big one you hear about a lot is leaving your baby to cry. And that is absolutely a family's decision and a parent's decision, how they want to approach making sleep changes. But I just knew personally, and my husband knew personally, that just wasn't the right thing for us and our family, and that we didn't want to leave our little one to cry in any way. We wanted to make changes where we responded to all of her cries. So yeah, there was nowhere else to go. There was nowhere else that was as gentle and as gradual and just absolutely fit with our beliefs and our view of how we wanted to change things. So yeah, I think Care It Out is really unique in that sense that I tell everyone, or obviously I do now especially, but I tell everyone that's an expectant parent or ones or have little ones already that yeah, if you want support with sleep and you want to do it genuinely gently, Care It Out it's the place to go. It's absolutely
Sammi.
It really is. I can't sing your praises enough, and it is exactly what the approach claims to be as well. It is. I mean, I've said it twice or three times already, but I'm going to say it again because I feel like there are lots of approaches that are almost dressed up to be gentle, but when you really look into it, it's not gentle. It doesn't feel gentle. So I feel like your approach is genuinely gentle and successful as well. You know, look at the changes that we've made, these amazing changes, and yeah, we've never left our little one to cry for periods of time. And again, that may work for other people's families, or that may work for some families and some babies, and that's absolutely fine. You know, that is what works for you. But for us personally, we just didn't want to go down that road. And amazing to see the changes that we've made, and we didn't have to, which is great.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I think I've forgotten what I was going to say there, which is very much unlike me. Yeah, I think that I'm very honest. I really am really, really honest. Well, I like to think I'm very honest. I believe I am very honest. And I know my approach isn't for everybody and it's not everyone's cup of tea, and I'm absolutely okay with that. But I do believe that it is genuinely gentle. I wouldn't ask a parent to do something that I didn't feel comfortable with or I couldn't do. I think it's really important. One of the questions they did, and again, this is a very popular question, is be honest, were there any tears from your baby or from you?
So yeah, that's a really good question. I think you've done an Instagram post on tears, which is really great because I think it would be really misleading to say, oh my gosh, my little one didn't cry at all, not at all, because obviously, like you say, crying is the way that they communicate with you. It's your baby's, you know, pre talking. It's their verbal way of saying to you, you know, a million and one things. I'm hungry, I'm tired, I'm hot, I'm cold, you know, etc., etc. And when you're making sleep changes, I think there's likely to be some tears at some point, because they're saying, hold on a minute, what's this? You were rocking me to sleep last night, and tonight you're doing something different. This isn't how it normally happens.
Yeah.
Like they know there's a change. And yeah, I think there can be that expectation that if it's gentle, there's going to be no tears whatsoever. But actually, it's your baby's way of communicating. And I think there definitely were some tears from my little one, but not kind of the kind of tears that are sort of heart-wrenching to hear. You know, you always in this approach, you always step in before it kind of gets to, you know, as you say, like losing your sleep shears.
Yeah.
That really overwhelming, awful sobbing kind of sound. I think we maybe had that, maybe had like something similar like that. So quite a lot of crying, maybe once, maybe twice in the whole process. But the real difference is, when that was going on, she was spoken to, she was sung to, she was held, she was patted, she was cuddled until she calmed down, and everything was okay. And so really kind of lots of tears, I think, maybe happened once, maybe twice, but generally over the whole experience, little bits of tears, little bits of whinges, but always responded to, which is the big difference in other approaches, I think, is that she's always responded to. But overall, the kind of huge majority of the time, not that many tears at all, to be completely honest. Some nights really blew me away at the lack of tears. So yeah, overall there were some, but always managed, and never to the point of kind of like really lost her sleep shears and inconsolable and couldn't be calmed down at all. I think when we had anything that sort of was like a big cry, like I said, maybe one or two nights, I maybe came close to tears those one or two nights. But again, whilst sitting next to her and being there and responding and touching and cuddling, and like I said, I think we only had one or two nights where there were lots of tears, and that might be for other reasons as well. You know, maybe it could have been, I think one of them, she hadn't napped very well that day either, so that there she was overtired when we were trying to make these changes, and she was just basically just shouting at me that she was tired and wanted to go to sleep. So please rock me. And again, there's another thing you say, that making sleep changes isn't selfish, because actually I knew we needed to make these changes, and I knew that when there were tears, she was just saying, I'm confused, why aren't you rocking me, and why isn't it the same as last night, why is it different again this night? But actually the changes are so little and so gradual, and any time there's any tears, she was responded to. Those tears were always responded to, and she always settled really quickly. So that's the thing, is that I think to expect there to be no tears whatsoever is maybe not realistic, but actually what is realistic is knowing that whenever there are tears, it doesn't matter if they're little tears or like a little whinge, or, you know, really kind of building up to a more bigger cry, that actually she always knows that she's being responded to, and that we're going to come if she needs us. And I honestly think that is why now bedtime is so much easier, and she just, you know, gets herself comfy, has a little whinge and a babble, and off she goes to sleep. Because she knows if she needs us, she can ask for us, and we will be there.
I think that is at the crux of Kerry. I think no tears completely is really unrealistic too, and also from a safety calling out perspective, that's the whole point of Kerry Out, is that if they need support, they trust and they feel safe and can trust that by calling out you come. Absolutely. I have done a post on this. I think what I'll do is I'll put the post link in the show notes afterwards if you're interested. But what I would say about tears, and again, every baby, every small is completely different. Some will go through the whole process with literally not a murmur, like they just don't cry at all, or it's very low, I hate the word, but very low level crying. But at any point, that baby we are always going to give them what they want and need at that point. Then babies are never left to cry on their own. And just to clarify, isn't a shush pat like my whole, because lots of people you just do pick up, put down, or it's shush pat. Nothing against those methods, but I want to be very clear that's not what the carrot out is about. And pat all the way to sleep at every single stage. She cry or they cry, we go straight to them, give them what they want, get them calm again, try again. I think that's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're right. I hate that word whinge as well. Trying to find a better word.
I don't know why.
Murmur is a better word. Yeah, that's it. It's absolutely giving them what they need at whatever stage they're at, and that's what kind of manages any tears in a really, really, really good way.
Yeah, and I think being honest about it, like that it is, like I always say, that carrot out isn't necessarily always a piece of cake. Making changes even the caring way can be hard. But I think on the whole, it didn't feel uncomfortable to you, and it instinctively felt like it was the best thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I was never at a point that I felt, okay, this is making me uncomfortable now, because whenever you almost kind of get a step before that point and you're thinking, oh, okay, that's a big cry that she's just started, then she's instantly responded to. So you almost don't have time to get to the point of feeling really uncomfortable, because what feels instinctively, or what felt instinctively right for me and what felt like the right thing to do was to respond to that cry, pick her up, give her what she needed. And so I never got to that point of feeling uncomfortable, because I just didn't get there, because I was doing what I felt was right, which is exactly what your approach is about.
Yeah, really, I think I'm really passionate about that.
Yeah.
Another biggie question was, how long did it take to see improvements?
I would say a few weeks. Maybe sort of like between sort of 3 to 4 weeks. I'd say by after the 3rd week we were out of the room, I think, and then it just sort of took a few more nights, a few more days for things to kind of really click and kind of feel really, really smooth. Probably somewhere around the sort of 3-ish week mark, I'd say.
Yeah. And I think that looks different. Again, it's not me doing it, so it's easier, but I try and encourage parents to let go of that time. What I would say is my approach isn't that slow that it's months and months and months.
no
It's not like that. We're definitely making changes, but every family will make strides at different times and at different paces. Like it just looks all completely different, and I always accept families, babies, where you're at in the process. Some families, because this comes up a lot, some families will make very, very quick improvements, like they hardly use their aftercare. It's crazy. First couple of days, it's done. That happens, but it's quite rare. The majority of families, by the end of 2 weeks of working together, are where they would like to be, or if they're not quite where they want to be, they feel that it's just a matter of time.
Definitely. Yeah, I think after 2 weeks for us, we were definitely at the point where we were like, okay, we're so nearly there. We've got all the tools, we know exactly what we're doing. Just a couple of steps. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And then some babies do take a little bit longer, between 3 to 6 weeks, but it doesn't, just because, again, we put so much emphasis on how long it's going to take, like that quick fix Amazon Prime patience. There's nothing wrong with taking slow and steady and getting there, and sometimes do take a little longer, they still get there, which is the main thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially when we're changing something like changing a bedtime boundary, how your baby goes to sleep. It's a whopper.
It's such a big thing for them. Yeah, it's such a big thing for them. So it's natural that it might take a few weeks for that to really kind of settle. And
that trade-off as well, like most parents that do decide to work together and they choose me as their sleep supporter, like they want to minimize the tears and manage those. And the trade-off of reducing the tears is that it can take a little bit more time.
Yeah, that's it.
But it goes quick, right?
It does. Oh my gosh, yeah, it really goes quick. And I'd say the really nice thing about it is that you have you know what your plan is. So whatever you're changing, you've got your sleep plan there. You know exactly what you're trying to achieve. And it's even that is I said after our first phone call, I felt so relieved and positive and excited to make changes, because I thought, right, there's a plan and there's steps, so you can feel like something's changing already, because you've already put in the steps in place to make a change. And that's really powerful, kind of feeling like, you're on the way to making changes. So it flies by, it really does.
Yeah, I'm always surprised at how quickly it goes. One, I'm a girl that loves a plan. I write out my day, what I need to do in that day, and if it is not on that list, it is not happening. And also, I really like clarity, like knowing where you would like to get to. I think it's a really important part of coaching people, whatever you're coaching.
Yeah.
Was there any time at all where you didn't think it was going to work?
I think maybe a little bit sort of right at the start. Like, I felt super positive after having our plan, but I still felt like, how is she going to go from being rocked all the way to sleep to falling asleep by herself without us in the room in her cot? Like, how is that going to happen? I have no idea. So I think even though I sort of totally bought into the whole approach and had been a bit of a sleep stalker, I was still like, is this actually going to change? How is it going to change? It just sounds such a mammoth task. It sounds so big a change. How is it possibly going to happen in the space of a few weeks? And then I think within a couple of days, she managed the first change that we put in really well, and I was like, oh my goodness, she can manage change. We've already changed something in the first couple of days, and it's already different. And then I think by that point I was like, well, if she can do this step, what's going to stop her doing the next step? What's going to stop her doing the step after that? And that it built momentum really quickly, which again goes back to what I said about feeling really positive about having that plan, because you feel like, we've got a plan, we've got steps. It really helps kind of feel like you can do it.
Yeah, definitely. And she did respond positively. Everything we put in, and we made some really big changes.
Yes.
But every set she responded really positive. Like, I remember at points you were actually one step ahead of me.
Yeah.
I was like, hang on, we've missed a chat. How did I not know this? Like, I can remember it wasn't that long ago, but but she did really well. I think she really adapted to the changes.
She did, bless her.
Right. I was going to say something then, and I thought you said, oh, it will come back to it. Oh yes, it's completely normal. Like, I think when parents have had their initial consultation with me, like, there's all of those feelings come up, so it's natural to feel a little bit apprehensive, a little bit nervous. It's also natural to feel a bit excited, and I think it's really healthy. If somebody went into any process going, this is going to work, there's going to be no problems whatsoever, I think it can be a little bit unrealistic. I'm quite a positive person, but I think you have to be realistic in that. So I think it's quite healthy to go into it with could it work? Is it going to work? And most families start off feeling a little bit overwhelmed and just like they can't. I'll be honest with you, it blows my mind. And I promise you're not the only one, but it still blows my mind when I sign off a family. Like, how on earth did we go?
Yeah. Because it is amazing, and that's the thing. It's really, really, really possible when you've spent hours and hours googling, and which is the worst thing in the world to do, and reading and looking and trying, and things are still not where you want them to be. It can feel really disheartening and can feel as though things are never going to change, but they can, and they can really, really positively. It's amazing.
Crazy. And what was the most challenging part for you?
Oh, that's a big
one, isn't it?
Yeah, what was the most challenging part? I guess maybe again sort of starting off, like, I think those, and I think because it was the start of a big change as well, I think she almost responded better and better as we went on. And although she did respond really well to that first initial change, it felt like, because obviously that's the first step we took, like, okay, tonight you're not going to rock all the way to sleep, you're going to do this instead. And it was like, how is she possibly going to do that last little bit of falling asleep without me rocking her? That's how she goes to sleep. And already you're making such a big change. And I think that felt quite challenging, because and they were probably the longest nights. I think maybe the first one or two, where it did take quite a long time for her to fall asleep eventually, because we were making such a big change. Obviously it's natural for them to take much longer to fall asleep if you're doing something different. So yeah, I say maybe going through that first night or two where it was taking a really long time for her to fall asleep, and thinking, I've got to keep going until she falls asleep. She and then her doing it and being like, oh my gosh, wow, she actually did it. And then it almost got easier from then, because I knew that she could make that change. I knew that she could fall asleep without me rocking her all the way.
Yeah. That's the best part for me. That is the best. I mean, there are so many different things I love about working with lots of families, but for me, the highlight is just seeing that confidence grow throughout the process.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's amazing. And just watching you or watching families get so much more confident, trusting their instincts,
yeah,
right for them, so much more confidence in themselves as a parent, so much confidence in their baby. And I can even tell by the end of it, like how parents start off talking to me, the language they use, how they talk when we talk at the end.
Yeah,
honestly, the transformation is amazing. For me, that is the buzz, is watching that I call it the confidence curve. Like, it just goes up and up and up. And
that's so true.
Amazing.
Yeah,
it is amazing.
So
and just seeing you flourish and have that confidence, because confidence is pretty much 99% of everything, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. If you feel confident about something,
definitely,
you're almost there.
Yeah. This is a great question, and I get asked this all the time. How rigidly did you stick to the advice Kerry gave you?
Honestly, like 100%, honestly, because I think, like I said nearer the start, I think for me, the approach and what I wanted to do and what I felt comfortable with, they aligned so strongly that actually what my gut was telling me to do was always what Kerry was sort of suggesting to do anyway, if that makes sense. That actually, we really did stick to it. And I think it was so important, because actually, especially with changing a bedtime boundary, if one of the things that we always said, or Kerry always said, is just stick to the steps, and actually sticking to the steps in terms of like responding to her every cry, and responding to sort of every time she needed me. I had that in my mind, like, she can do it, just stick to the steps,
So I'm laughing, Sammi, because honestly, this is all I say all day in the office. Just stick to the steps. Just stick to the steps. Like a dance, just stick to the steps. So it's really funny that you picked on it.
Yeah, it does, because actually you feel like, again, for me, it came down to I know what the steps are, I know what the plan is, so if I stick to it, it's going to work. Yeah. and it did. But also the really lovely thing that Kerry often says, and I've seen you say it in lots of different places and ways, is that actually your gut always, a parent's gut always kind of trumps the advice given. And if you really feel like you need to do something different, or your gut is telling you to do this or to slightly change that, then obviously every parent and every baby is different. But just speaking from my experience of it, I felt like, we did really stick to it, because again, I felt like my gut was what I needed to do, was what you were saying for me to do. So that's it aligned really well.
Yeah, I think that's important. And I think sticking to stick to the steps, every time I say that, I'm going to be laughing. But yeah, sticking to the steps, like, it's really important. And I think I can put it in the plan somewhere, like, your instincts are always whatever I say, and you're always in charge. So if something isn't feeling right, you always stop. And there's always wiggle room as well with the steps. But I think that discipline, sticking to the steps, it is quite important.
Yeah.
And coming back to the taking a long time to get her down at bedtime, I think that's quite a common thing, because again, Amazon Prime patients, if we try something, it hasn't worked immediately, we're like, oh, it's not worked, let's try something else. And I do setting up, I've got a new team meeting on, like, some reason office have stopped doing Skype, but I had to get download Teams. I had to figure out a new way of doing it. And when I was doing it, I had to get my husband to do it, to figure it out. And I was getting so impatient. I thought, just leave it. This is what it would be nice. Just leave it then. It's fine. It's not going to work, is it? I will just have to do it. I don't know how I'm going to record across a laptop. I don't know how to do it another way. And he was like, oh my gosh, what do you say to your families? And he knows, by the way, he doesn't earwig in consultations. He just knows because he hears me say it like all the time with him. He was like, just Amazon Prime patience, Kerry. And I was like, oh my God, what have I created?
Come back to
so true. If it's not happening straight away, that frustration of, well, I'm going to try something else then. A massive key with getting your small a more settled night's sleep is giving it that is working through that time.
Absolutely.
It's so hard to do that.
That's it. Yeah, just I think having that patience or trusting the process, giving them the time to try and do it, and it absolutely pays off.
Makes a big difference. How do you emotionally cope with any of the changes?
Yeah, I think there was a little bit of a kind of a feeling about, oh my gosh, we're going to have her sleeping by herself, falling asleep in her own room. And actually, we knew that it was the rocking that needed to change. And nights are so much better since we did change the rocking. So we know it was absolutely the right thing to do. But I still remember my husband sort of saying, oh, but I quite like rocking her to sleep. I'm thinking, oh, I'm not going to be able to rock her to sleep anymore. And so I think there was an emotional factor to it, of course, of thinking she's going to fall asleep without us in the room, but she's so tiny and she's in that big room all by herself. And actually it was amazing doing it slowly and gradually and giving her the time to do it and see her get more and more confident and us get more and more confident. And actually she's perfectly capable of it now. And it's been really, really lovely to watch her become a little bit more independent with her sleep. But there was an emotional aspect to that, of course, of being like, oh, my baby.
Parenting is so personal, and I call it, like, sometimes I call it the parenting magnet. It's that for me, like, more settled night's sleep. It's something that's for me. Yeah, I miss cuddling them. I miss them. They're asleep now. I need to go in and give them a kiss and wake them up.
Yeah,
that odds of emotion that you're
like, please go to sleep. Please sleep well. Please sleep through our evenings so that we can have an evening together. Hold on a minute. I'll just have a look at the videos and photos I took of you today.
I think that's really normal to do that. Really normal to do that. And I think also, especially, like, again, it's not completely tear-free, but it's not like you're sitting there while she's crying, sobbing her heart out going to bed. Like, as soon as they start crying on my approach, we're in and we're doing something. That's 9 times out of 10 it stops straight away. So there are tears, but it's not a continuous process, if that makes sense.
No, exactly. Like I said before, there wasn't any space for me to feel uncomfortable in the process, because actually I got to her before it got to that. Absolutely.
And then the final question, I knew we were going to talk loads, Sammi. I knew it. Love it. Again, this was a very popular one. They were like, come on, spill. What is Kerry really like to work with? And you can be as honest as you like, Sammi. I can always edit it.
Well, yeah, I mean, the fact that we've done a sleep service together and here I am on the podcast, it obviously shows you that she's horrible, isn't she? She's nightmare. No, she's so wonderful. She's so wonderful. And I think it's such a credit to Kerry, to you, to what you've kind of accomplished with Care It Out, that actually, having been a sleep stalker and seen all of your content on Instagram and watched loads of videos for several months, it's so nice to kind of see that actually you are just like you come across in all of that content. You know, you are so lovely, so supportive. It was like having a sleep cheerleader to sort of give us lots of reassurance, lots of kind of lots of positive comments and support. And yeah, it was so lovely. I feel like we sort of metaphorically had our hands held through something that we were both excited about, but also a little bit nervous about, and something as big as changing the way, you know, your baby goes to sleep, or something as big as just admitting that actually, you know what, we do need a little bit of support with how our baby's sleeping. So nice to have somebody who gives you all that reassurance and tells you everything that you need to hear, because they so genuinely believe that it's true, you know, like you're not doing anything wrong, you haven't done anything wrong, you're not a bad parent because your child isn't sleeping 15 hours at night or whatever. It's, yeah, it was really refreshing to feel like actually someone is exactly how they come across, and the approach was exactly what it claims to be. Yeah, it's been so lovely.
Oh, thank you. People often sort of like, even people that I just chat with, like if I have an initial chat, like they're like, oh, you're like you are on Instagram. I'm like, actually, is that a good thing? Is it? What are you trying to say there? But I actually think it's a positive thing, because honestly, what with me is what you see is what you get. And I'm always very honest. I am a very positive person.
Yeah.
To care it out. I don't always care all the time, because it's impossible. Nobody can be positive all the time. I'm not perfect. I have days in that I love my job so much. I wouldn't want to be doing anything else. If I won the lottery, I would still be doing this to some degree. I would just be doing it in a much nicer location.
Exactly.
But yeah, I always try to be very, very honest.
Yeah, and yeah, you definitely are, like, honest and realistic, and but at the same time really positive. And yeah, it's absolutely a compliment that you come across how you are on
They'll say, oh, you sound just like you sound on Instagram. I'm like, yes, that's
what does that mean? It's because, yeah, you know, it's, yeah, you do come across as so kind of reassuring and positive, but realistic, and that's definitely what made me think this is the right approach for me. This is the person I want to work with, and that's, yeah. So if anyone's thinking, oh, I wonder what it is actually like to work with Kerry, it's how you probably would imagine it to be. It's really, really positive, so supportive. Yeah, I have absolutely zero regrets. In fact, the only thing I might regret a smidgen is maybe that, you know, not getting in touch a little bit sooner.
Yeah, I hear that all the time.
I had probably got to my point of feeling like I had enough for a little while before I got in touch. So I feel like actually, in hindsight, it maybe when I got to that point of no, I really have had enough now. I could have got in touch then, but yeah, everything worked out, and yeah, I've got absolutely no regrets, and it was so wonderful working with you, so wonderful.
Oh, Sammi, I'm so happy to hear that. And life is always about that balance, like it works both ways. I always get to the end of my working week, and I'm always like, I honestly work with such lovely people. For the time we're working together, I always feel, we should have said in the beginning, Sammi, we had a 2-week service, so we in contact, pretty much contact for those 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks we were working together. I only work with 4 families per week, which actually sounds quite a lot, but it isn't really.
No, when you think about the amount of time and support that we receive, it's I can imagine it's quite time consuming.
It is very time consuming. I need another me or another week. But I see you as my work colleagues for that. And it's fun. Like, it's really like sleep deprivation. I always wanted, when I had that intention of doing something, I always wanted to bring the lighter side to it, because sleep deprivation, it is a serious matter. It really is. And that, even saying that, just makes me want to have a giggle.
Absolutely.
It impacts everything, and I do take that very seriously. I think in general, whilst you're going through it, I think it's really important to just look at the lighter side of life. I think
absolutely. Yeah, it can be hard when you're absolutely exhausted and you're struggling with sleep sort of day in, day out. But it was so nice to have. I really looked forward to our chats, and it was nice to sort of share something positive that day of, oh, you know, managed this that night, or she managed this, or this is where we're at now. And you always made us feel like it was a huge accomplishment. You know,
it is a huge,
But it felt so good to sort of get that kind of, wow, you managed that really well, or that has gone really well, that's how I would hope it would be, or etc. And it really does keep you on the right track. It really is like having a sleep cheerleader.
You need that positive when you're coaching as well.
Yes, yeah.
That I couldn't, somebody wasn't, and I don't think you can fake that enthusiasm or that genuine interest in people, because people can see through it. I've definitely worked not with like ones that like on the sleep side of it, but like business coaching or other coaches I've used, like you can tell when someone's into it.
Yeah.
Like, in a rush. Again, I am not perfect. I sometimes am in a rush, I'm running late, things happen, we're human.
Yeah, of course.
But I think people can tell when you're not genuine or your heart's not in it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what drew me to you and to Care It Out anyway, because you do come across so genuine, and you are really, really, really genuinely lovely and genuinely supportive. It's been really, really, really lovely.
That's all I ever want to hear from families. Not that sounds very egotistical. You getting more sleep,
Yes.
And actually, when we sign off, I always get sign off day makes me sad. So I sign off on a Monday and a Friday, and I can often be found crying on those days. It's pathetic. I've letting go issues, because I'm really happy that you've made improvements and you don't need to stay on a sleep service. But then I always get really sad because I'm speaking to you every day.
Yeah, I can understand that.
It's weird, because by the time you get to the end of the 2 weeks, you feel like you know somebody.
Yeah,
But it's really weird.
Absolutely.
I've got a continuous turnover of colleagues.
Yeah, I felt the same way, which is why I'm back now.
It's good because I never get bored. Never get bored. Sammi, thank you so much for coming on. I had intended to be a real short, to the point, really catchy. I knew it wouldn't be.
That was too much of an aim.
No, but I think everything we've covered, I don't think we've waffled. I think everything we've covered is really useful. Not quite sure, and just I know you haven't had a chance to go through the questions for me. Maybe you have to come back again, Sammi.
Yeah, maybe we'll do another one, part 2.
What it's like to be a sleep consultant. But I think it works both ways. It's really important for me that families are confident that we're on the same sleep page. I'm the sleep supporter for them. They've got it's natural to feel like parents, but they've got confidence it's the best approach for them. And it works the other way. I will only, we've been through the process now, but I will only book a family onto a paid sleep service if this bill is probably very memorable for you, if that you need it, you feel working together, I'm a sleep supporter for you, you need a consultation, you actually need a sleep consultant. Some families just need a little bit of reassurance and they're on their way. You don't need to pay me a huge amount of money to get that. And also that I'm quite confident that we can work together to move you forward. But I definitely always I never see that it's me working with you. It's always about a team. And there's usually 3 or 4 of us in the team. Families, maybe, or me. And we all play our part.
Definitely a team effort, for sure.
If you had one last tip for anybody that was thinking about a sleep consultant, it doesn't me, but anybody that was thinking of hiring a sleep consultant or working with one, what's your tip?
I think my biggest tip to anyone who's considering a sleep service or working with you is probably, if you've got to that point where you just feel like I can't do this anymore, the lack of sleep is really impacting our family life, and it's really impacting how I feel that I'm able to kind of parent and enjoy my baby. When you've got to that point of feeling like actually I really do need some help, I feel like the biggest tip I could give, just do away with that feeling of any shame or feeling like, or any shoulds, I should be able to get my baby to sleep better by myself or anything like that. Just completely do away with that, and just pluck up the courage to ask for support. There's nothing wrong with asking for help, nothing wrong with asking for support. It's been one of the best things I've done, one of the best decisions I made when I really got to that point that I needed support, and it's really changed sleep and family life for us. So I guess my biggest tip is if you've got to that point, just bite the bullet, bite the bullet and go for it. And yeah, just trust that actually you are an incredible parent and you're not doing anything wrong. And actually, by saying that you need some support and getting ready to make some changes with some help, you're absolutely doing the right thing for you and your baby and your family.
Yeah, oh, that's amazing. And actually, one last thing I would like to, there's always one last thing. But what I would like to add to that is there are lots of different sleep consultants out there, all with very different approaches. And I'm not going to get into that whole bed Barney of what's right and what's wrong. My stance on this will always be, if it's working for you, all is well. It's about finding something that works for you. Yeah. And actually, this might be a whole other show that I do, like 5 tips to help you choose the best sleep consultant for you. Don't be afraid to ask. I want parents to ask me questions to make sure of all of those things. Whoever you are looking into, I hope this resonates with me and you're interested in working with me. I also, if I'm not, I want you to find something that works for you. So whoever you are looking into, make sure that you are completely happy. Read their ethos. Don't just go in and go online and book straight away. It's hard. Take a little bit of time to read through their approach. If you've got any questions, ask questions. Really good sleep consultants will always be happy to answer any questions. You are never a nuisance and they'll be happy to answer them. Even get on a quick chat with you. Sometimes I initiate a quick chat. Sometimes a parent asks me that. I would always be put off if somebody wouldn't have that chat with you or answer those questions. And it's always okay to really, what is your approach? Where do you stand on this? Like, really make sure that person is the best for you. I think it's really important. And most importantly, follow that gut. Your gut is good. Well, mine isn't good at the moment, but it is good. And my instinct has never failed me.
Yeah, definitely. Trust your gut. Trust your gut.
So important. Oh, Sammi, I don't want to say goodbye.
I know. I feel like I could talk for like another hour after that. But yeah.
To the point that I've been very busy today. I did a live with Penny from the Baby Sleep Shop earlier. And we were talking about togs and sleepwear and summer, which was ironic because it was absolutely teeming with rain here today. So I'm never fraud. So I am a little bit talked out today, and I've had a morning sleep session with clients. So I am going to go and have a cup of tea, well-earned break, and actually I'm talking again tonight. I've got my business.
It's non-stop.
It's non-stop, but do you know what? I wouldn't have it any other way. But thank you so much. I think I sound really dicky when I say this, but I think it's always an honour to be chosen someone's sleep supporter. You're putting so much trust, not only just your trust, but your baby and their sleep and their well-being with me, and I will never take that for granted. So thank you so much for choosing Care It Out, and thank you so much for all your support. Even before we worked together, Sammi, you've been very, very supportive.
Of
always
course.
very grateful and
Thank you so much.
And yeah, thank you for agreeing to come onto the show and talk about your experience, because it is such a private thing.
You are so welcome. So welcome. I've really, really, really enjoyed it.
I've really enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you so much for listening to me, your host, Kerry Secker, on the Care It Out Sleep Show. I really hope you found the podcast reassuring, informative, and a little bit fun. If you did, please don't forget to subscribe to the show below, and I'd be so grateful if you could leave me some fabulous feedback. I always love hearing from you, and one lucky listener will win lifetime access to my Bedtime Basics e-course every single month. My next podcast episode will be out in 2 weeks' time, but if you can't wait for more of my sleep shizzle, you can find me over on Instagram at Care It Out Sleep Consultant. I update my sleep squares and speak sleep there on the daily. Big love and sleep solidarity to you all.